Have you?
Hello and welcome. This is Tina Marie, and you are on the Light Your Life podcast. Thank you so much for lending your time and your attention. And as always, we're going to be learning from an amazing soul who has surmounted his own odds, come through his own challenges, come through that dark night of confusion, and landed in a place where he is in total fulfillment and love of his life. We want to tap into his knowing and tap into his story. So hang tight. We're going to have an amazing ride. My guest is Omar Morales. Omar is the Director of Operations and Projects at Advano, a battery startup located in New Orleans. He's also the founder of the Omar Project, a website dedicated to the art and science of project management. Over the last decade, his work has taken him to new cities, new states, and even new countries. From the United States to Singapore to Malaysia, Omar has managed projects not just in the millions, but in the billions. When he's not busy being a project manager, he enjoys hiking, camping, and skiing with his wife, Phoenix, and their son, Amias. And there's a little baby on the way. Omar is based in New Orleans. He was originally in Houston. We're going to tell that story of how he moved to New Orleans. It's just a magical story. You're going to want to pull this into your soul too, and it's going to inspire you. So, Omar, thank you for being not only a friend, but definitely our guest today here on Light Your Life.
Thank you, Tina, for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to be having this conversation with you. I've been waiting to have it for quite a bit, and I just
Yeah.
would love to share kind of all the things that we've talked about a lot as friends, and now I think I would say now that that we've known each other for quite a bit. So
Yes, we can. And we are going to be diving into a couple takeaways that for our audience members. The transferable skills that you have in your career, in your acumen, whether you're a business owner and an executive or an individual contributor and a professional, they are valuable. And we want you to be able to take inventory of those today. Also, Omar, you're going to be sharing your story about moving out of O&G into renewables. And I know that's a common topic right now. We get a lot of career professionals that come to us saying, hey, there's a mass exodus out of O&G, even though that industry is not dying. It's just a lot of those skills are now transferring into renewables, like, they need to. And then also we're going to be wrapping it up because I'm going to ask you some personal questions about your own daily habits and what you've learned about yourself to stay prime as an executive at a startup. So I'd like to start with that version of your life that was before you reached out and said, "Hey, I needed to make some shifts in my career." Not that where we find ourselves, because oftentimes where we find ourselves, we need to take inventory and have a genuine appreciation for where we are. Yet we can also know that there's something more on the horizon. We don't need to make where we are wrong to go to where we need to be. And so you and I met whenever you were at that season of your career and of your life saying, I know that there's something more. I'm not exactly sure where it is or what it is, yet I simply feel that pull. Do you remember that time?
yeah, I remember it vividly. I think I don't want to say it was like a midlife crisis, but it was more of a career crisis as far as I had always had this deep desire to join a startup or start my own company. Like that was something that was burning inside of me for a long time. And I think it started as a kind of like a small interest, but then it eventually became just something that just wouldn't go away. And where I was at, which was one of the top three oil and gas firms in the world, um, although the job was extremely fulfilling, and the experience was great, there was that part of me that really wasn't. I wasn't really using it, so it was kind of just atrophying while I was learning all these other things. And part of me was thinking, okay, well, when am I going to do this? How would I even do this? Is it even possible? Maybe it's not anymore. And there was just a lot of questions in my mind about, what do I do in the next 5, 10 years? And what do I want my life to be? And,
Right.
and how do I want to be as a person? And honestly, when we started, I had just probably had my first, well, I had a Maya, so that was definitely my first kid.
Mm-hmm.
And, I felt the time of like, okay, things are going to get busier.
Mm-hmm.
I need to like really get a handle on where I'm going.
Yeah, and we do come to that place in our life. Like, if I do not make the leap now, if this seed inside of me is not nourished, I may get passed over, and that dream may never come to fruition because life takes its own course, right? And were you there?
I was I probably, I mean, I was close to being there. I was to a point where I was like, I need to make a decision. I cannot keep tinkering and always spending time, spending energy on things if that's not ultimately what I'm going to end up doing. There's this saying, a lot of people say it's like entrepreneurs or
Mhm.
people that sit on the fence for long periods of time. And I was becoming that. And I was actually, I would say probably doing more than that because I started up a couple of businesses while I was at the company I was working at. But I wanted to do more. I had that itch to do more. And um, that part of me needed to have some sort of resolution. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we put your shingle out. We started to, brand you. And sometimes that's a hard thing whenever we're in an organization and there's that fear interpretation. I'm going to make a leap. And what do people think? What if they find out? Am I going to risk it all? Am I really supposed to do this? Can I just be happy with where I am? And you have this, we have our family backing, or we have our support network around us that says, like, why can't you just be happy? You've got it good. And even if we've got it good, there's that, like you said, that ache for more. And I know Phoenix, your wife was supporting you because she was in your proximity daily going, okay, you need to do something here, dude. And so we helped brand you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also, I mean, it's also understanding too. I think part of it was there's the branding part. And then part of it's realizing that it's okay to do these things. Like it's very natural for people to have these wants and these desires to do beyond. And in fact, I would say it's probably the rare person that's in a, some of these firms that are some of the best in the world. Like they're picking from the top of the top, right? Like when you were in college, you were at the top of your class. When you were in high school, you were at the top of these guys, like everyone has these dreams of what they want to do in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It's normal. A lot of people have that, and expressing that in a way while you can do your job, be productive, perform, and also do that. I think it's healthy. It's like exploring a part of you that needs to be used.
Yeah. And as we say here at Bonfire, above the line is growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to have that growth piece of ourselves and give ourselves that permission. And so you left O&G, which, at a time where, you did this right before there was a lot of downside, right? There was a big culling of that industry over the last year. And you got out as, you didn't have that foresight, but people could say it was good luck. You did it. And then you had, I remember this, you had on your list of wants, and we have the system here. It's like, would be nice. One of the would be nices is that you and Phoenix had said, wouldn't it be nice to get back to New Orleans? Because you'd lived in New Orleans before, correct?
Yeah. So we lived in New Orleans for 10 years, and yeah, we loved it. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
were there for 10 years. There, we'd grown to really call that home for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we had moved to Houston. So yeah, we,
Yeah.
we really fell into New Orleans, and it's a hard place. It's a city, if people have lived there, it's very polarizing. Like you either fall for it really hard or you really quickly realize you don't want to live there. But we fell for it very hard, and we love it.
Yeah. And so in your next leap in that place where you said, I'm either going to create my own startup or I'm going to be part of a startup, having that ache inside of your soul of wanting to be part of that creation of something meaningful and impactful. You put that energy out there. It's almost like a tractor beam, and all these other wants that were part of that also, including reaching into New Orleans. You got a call and an opportunity that landed in your lap.
Yeah, yeah, that was timing really worked out. So the the founder at one of the co-founders reached out and was like, "Hey, we're about to scale. We
Mm-hmm.
need help. We're going to need somebody that knows how to take a company or an organization from producing at a level that's small scale to then major." And that's honestly, if there's an expertise that I have, this is one of my core expertise, which is doing things, growing things, and building things at a tremendous scale. Because one of the things oil and gas teaches you
Mm-hmm.
really well, and one of the things that I got the privilege to work on, were these mega billion-dollar projects. And in these mega billion-dollar projects, when you see the intricacies and the moving parts of 20,000 pieces of equipment getting to one spot across the world, coming from like 50 different countries, being built, when some of the things take over a year to build, you really understand how to what scaling really means. And yeah, I was excited because it was an opportunity in a new space. It was in batteries, it was in renewables. I actually did feel like we were making a shift away from fossil fuels. And I mean, that wasn't the only reason. I'd always had that itch, but there was obviously, for me, it was, okay, this is an opportunity that looks like it's growing. And I was like, let me scratch this itch. And I'd be in an opportunity that looks like, hey, there looks like there's something here.
Mm-hmm. Something meaningful. I know that's been the center of your core values, is to be part of something impactful. Can you speak toward that? Because there's a lot of the people in the world right now that have that growing soul need of, we want to be part of something that's going to help move humanity forward, culture forward, just awareness and consciousness forward.
Yeah, I think for me, I see it as, and this is, after a lot of reflection, it's just we spend so much time at work or wherever we're at, putting in a lot of hours, putting a lot of dedication, and we expect something in return. And we all say, yeah, well, we expect a salary, which, okay, everybody gets a salary, and and some of us are very blessed to have beyond what probably other people do have in the salaries or what the average person might have.
Right.
But we're always seeking more than that. Like, there's more to it than just the money. There's the impact side. Like, what are you learning? Where are you growing? Where are you being challenged? And then, like, ultimately too, like, what are you doing to the world? Like, what's your what footprint are you leaving in the world? And I think, for me, the move was part of me just naturally growing and trying to continue to challenge myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there were so many risks making this move, whether moving to a new industry, moving to a city, a lot of risks that I took on, but the challenge of it to me was very exciting because, like, on the flip side of it, on the upside, it's like, wow, this could be something, incredible for growth. And so far, it's been the growing that I've experienced has been tremendous. Just from a wow, like, this is a startup. Wow, I'm seeing things that I haven't seen before, and we're moving super fast. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn and you have to experience all these hard things because there's no way around it.
Right. You stay in the game, right? And see where it goes. Like you're on the surfboard and the wave's taking you.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And so I know that we wanted to also share about transferable skills. Because whenever we have the skills and the acumen and the experience that we've already gathered, how do we articulate that, or how do we look upon ourselves with our skill sets and have the faith and the knowing and that confidence that those skills of where we are can translate and transfer into other arenas? Any advice there?
Yes, I would say everyone that's listening has skill sets that are extremely transferable. Like, they may not seem obvious because, for somebody like me, I was only in oil and gas for almost 15 years. So all I knew was that one industry, and I knew how they operated, but I didn't see renewables. I didn't see startups. I didn't see all these different aspects of what, anybody could, what exists in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But when I made this switch, I realized really quickly that all the things that you learn in oil and gas are so critical to so many other industries, especially the learnings from, project management, from the people skills. That's none of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff's going away. All that stuff is not only transferable, but it's the same. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
no learning curve there. It's the same exact thing. And to me, one of the great things about sometimes being in these companies or oil and gas is their training programs are phenomenal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they put you through the paces of 3 years of do this, then learn this little skill set first, and then the second year. So if you're a grad student, which I started as a grad,
Mm-hmm.
you really go through the gamut of so much learning that, you are extremely valuable. And I think sometimes people don't realize how valuable they are
That's
in
so
those
true.
spaces.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very true. In fact, you and I had those conversations too, being able to own our value. And I love that, earlier on in our interview, in our talk here, you've even said, this is something I'm excellent at. This is something I'm really great at. It's not easy for us to look in the mirror or to even have conversation with somebody else and really claim our greatness, claim our excellence, claim our genius, and not be boastful, just simply own it. Could you speak toward that for others?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important to know that because moving into a new organization or moving into a new role, if it's hard for you to kind of know where your real strengths are, it's hard for you to know what your foundation is going to be. And the reason I say this is because now having kind of the hindsight of leaving one industry where I was very comfortable and moving to another one, I could bank my move or my expertise on, hey, look, I know this thing very well, and I bet that I can pick up how it works in this other industry. And I was right on those bets. Mm-hmm. But most of us would be if we just said, okay, I know, hey, look, I'm a great communicator, or hey, I'm a great manager. I know that if I go into this other industry, that's not changing. Like, yeah, the fundamentals may change, the people may change, but you're still going to have that gift. It's going to translate super well to whatever else you move to. And kind of understanding what that core one that you have that people really recognize you for, that's very important. For me, that took a lot of self-reflection. It took a lot of asking. It took me doing some 360 surveys to try and really understand things and learning from people and saying, okay, I didn't know I was good at this. I didn't know I was not good at this. That's great. Like, that helps me learn. And I think those things are very important to kind of get on that journey. And then that's good data. But then for me to make the switch and then test it, to say, okay, look, now I'm getting out of my comfort zone. Now I'm going to move into something that's very uncomfortable for me. Let's see what happens. I trust in myself. I trust in God. I'm going to just put it out there and let's see what happens. And what will happen is, if you're successful, which I believe, I think people will be, is that you'll learn, wow, like the strengths I thought I had they are strengths. They're strengths no matter where I go. It doesn't matter where I'm at. I can always count on these things kind of lifting me up no matter where I am.
That's awesome. And, to take that leap, right? Is the leap scarier than we make it? I mean, do we make up our own fear and our own trepidation so much that we just keep ourselves stuck?
Yes. So it's so true, because it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to diminish or put down our achievements because we're looking around, and this is something I would do, is like look around and you're with all these excellent people. They're all the top of their class. Everybody is excellent and everybody's performing well. And it looks almost like, hey, I'm just average, or hey, I'm just, whatever. Like, but what you don't realize is that when you get out of that zone, like, there's reasons they picked you up. There's reasons you were in that company. You are achieving there. If you've made it this far in oil and gas and you still have a job with the same company that you did 2 years ago, there is a reason that you're still there. There is a reason. And you need to be fully clear and understand why you add value to that company, because they would have let you go over the last year and a half if they didn't, or if you didn't.
Yeah. And so if somebody's not how do I put this? If someone's not happy where they are, let's just talk about that. Wherever you are in your life, be it you're running a business, because you and I both run businesses, right? You're running a business. Maybe you're in a role you don't like, or you're in a company you don't like, or maybe you're in an industry you don't like, or maybe you're in a city you don't like. If they're in a place where they're unhappiness, what advice would you give them?
You have to ask, to me, was asking yourself the question is, what would I regret more? And that was a very powerful question for me, is would I regret not trying more, or would I regret trying and then failing? And for me, the answer was not trying. And that in itself was what kept bothering me. And knowing that was the true answer, that was really what I realized. If I was 80 years old and somebody asked me, what would you regret? I knew I would always regret not trying. And therefore I had to do it. And then once I knew that, then it became, okay, well, how do I overcome the fears to do it? Because then that's another story.
Mhm.
How do you overcome the fear of actually jumping or taking the leap?
And so, do you remember some of the strategies that you used to contain that fear and tell the truth and move through it?
Yeah, there's a lot of lies that come up when you're going to do something, I think, or something that's scary or that creates fear. Perceptions is one big one about, okay, what am I doing? Is it going to mean that my income is going to lose? So I think knowing where the fear is coming from, and like for me, and for I think most people, it comes from either I'm going to not make money or income and I'm going to go broke, or I'm going to get embarrassed. I'm going to fail in public. And then what are people going to think about me?
Mm-hmm.
But it's incredible because when you take the leap and you start to actually explore, I would just say, stick your toes in the water,
Mm-hmm.
just explore a little bit, talk to people that have done it, talk to people that have figured out a way to do it ethically. And what do I mean by that is that the things that we perceive sometimes as being, unwritten rules in corporations or unwritten rules in the world sometimes aren't really rules. They're just kind of things we think in our head that really haven't been tested. So I would say test those things and ask the questions like, hey, if I do this, does this mean this is bad for me? And you will be shocked that a lot of people will be like, you're not the only one that's asked this. Many people have come and asked this question. We're actually letting like 50 people in the company or like hundreds of people are doing this. And you have no idea.
Because people don't
None.
talk about it.
People don't
Such
talk
as,
about it.
I remember we went through this because you wanted to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And we have the Omar Project. So if you guys aren't yet listening to Omar's podcast, it's awesome. I want you to write this down. It's easy. It's called the Omar Project. Go find it. There's a website, the Omar Project. Go find it. And so I remember we were working together and you're like, I want to get this message out there. I want to start a movement around project management and true project management skills. Right. And I remember you thinking, what are they going to say inside, the company you're working for?
Yep. Yeah.
And you tested the water.
Yeah. And you got to ask and you do it the legal and that, you go through the right channels, and most people are supportive of it. And honestly, like all the fears were, oh, people are going to think this is like, like I'm not with it, or I had so many fears come up, and the reality was people are like, oh, that's awesome. Great idea. That's cool. Supportive. I was just like blown away. And I think that speaks well for the company because I get to say like, hey, look, I thought that was very supportive of them, but it also speaks well to know that, it's a common thing. People want to do more things. And that's just human nature. That's how humans are,
And we do want to support each other. I mean, at the end of the day, companies are made of human beings. And the human needs that drive me, drive you, drive another human being. We all have the same needs. And the highest human need among all of us every single day, every single moment is contribution. When we can contribute to another person and support their greatness, we move out of ourselves into a higher order of being, and it helps all of us collectively. And so that's what I could feel that was happening in the company. In fact, you even had the ability to interview some of the project managers within your firm because they're like, hey, interview me. I'd like to be on your podcast.
Yeah, I actually have one coming up in about a month. Yeah.
That's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
Awesome.
it goes full circle. It's awesome.
It is awesome. We are in a collective of positive people moving in positive directions if we only look in that perspective. And so you mentioned perception, right? That perception that we have, it could easily go into fear. And the strategies that you used to overcome fear was just to take action, put your toes in the water. Is there another strategy that you found yourself using whenever that fear mind wanted to take over your thinking and keep you stuck?
It's, the taking action was the most effective, but the hardest. I have actually started a new strategy that I love, which is taking notes down, or not notes, journaling.
Yeah.
So when things happen in my life where I either feel fear, I feel kind of lost, confused, I'm never journaled. I'm not, writing for me, and I have a blog, but I write for that. But other than that, I don't frequently write. So, and I never journaled. But what I've noticed is that if I'm able to journal and write down the fears that I have and then look at them on paper and then go through them, like, I don't know why, but I just feel it's like the fear level goes from a 10 to a 2 after I'm done writing and processing, because
Mhm.
a lot of times the fear is just this little voice in your head that's saying, you can't do that, or you're going to go broke, or what about your family, or all these things that's coming up in your head. But when you put it down on paper and you actually see the real impacts of what could happen, you're like, wait, yeah, that's not going to happen. No, I have a degree, or I have this, I have an advanced degree. Like, it'll be fine. Like, I will be okay. And you see it, and all of a sudden it's like your brain can't fight that reality anymore, at least for me. So I think
Yeah.
that's been a powerful thing. I think obviously talking to people that can uplift you, that
Mhm.
can remind you of the greatness that you have is very important. And that could be your wife, that could be somebody like a coach, that could be, a close friend, those type of people that like that breathe into you, that live into you, that can really show your truths when you're going through difficult times. I think that's very helpful. Yeah, there's and then one other thing for me, I noticed this, just there could be habits that are helpful for people. Like for me, that was exercising. Exercising became fundamental to me fighting off some of those thoughts. Like
Mhm.
just knowing that, hey, no matter what I do, I'm going to wake up in the morning and work out, and I'm going to push myself harder than I think I can. And just
Mhm.
by doing that and finishing that, I would get some sort of, validation that, hey, you can do hard things.
Mhm.
And that would help me throughout the day, or throughout the week.
That's awesome. In fact, that's a great segue into what we want to go into is your morning habits. And yes, exercise has been proven that whenever we move our body, we move our emotion, we move our minds, then greatness can come in and through us. So take us into, Omar, what are your morning routines? What do you hang your hat on as this is how I start my day?
So my morning routine is always going to start. It didn't used to. So let me give some backstory. I used to hate working out in the morning,
Hmm.
and it was not a thing that I would do. But I would find that I wasn't. I would be challenged working out at lunch, and then obviously after having a kid, it became almost impossible. So, but I decided I was going to work out, and that meant I had to start waking up really early. So my first thing that I do is I get out of bed and I start working out. Um, that my routine has slightly shifted because I also do some work in the morning, very early in the morning, on the Omar Project stuff. But it's always a workout in the morning, very early. Like it will be earlier than work time.
Hmm.
And that helps kind of set my day, because that is what gives me, I think, a mind shift into positive state. It allows me to reflect on the day. It allows me, it's almost like time for me to meditate. It feels to me like a meditation. I usually go
Right.
for a run that, takes about 20 to 30 minutes, but in that time I'm thinking a lot, and I'm by myself and I'm just thinking. Now, any type of exercise like that where you can just get away, whether it's yoga, meditation, um running, anything, even group classes, like they're all great, because you can reconnect with that body and mind connection. And for me, it's so impactful. It's like I know the difference between a day that I do it and a day that I don't. It's just very obviously. And yeah, that was big for me. Another big thing for me is well, this isn't a morning routine, but uh, more of a change in lifestyle habit. And but it impacted my morning. Is I stopped drinking late in the evenings and as much as I used to, because I didn't want to have the impact in the morning, because I knew it was preventing me from doing a lot of these things.
Hmm.
So that's just so habits that help because I really wanted to just focus on having a great morning.
Hmm. And having the energy, right?
Yeah,
Having energy, because that's what fuels our mind, which fuels our thinking, which fuels our productivity, which fuels our self-confidence
right.
and our availability for others. This is awesome. Are there any characteristics in your team, the people that you look for to add to your team, since you're the director over operations and projects at Advano, which is an amazing company. I love all that Advano is doing. I sort of stalked you guys on your website. It's just tremendous work that you're doing in the battery industry, right? And the patents that you guys own. Are there any characteristics that you look for in your team when you're hiring that would incite the people that are out there also looking and trying to improve themselves?
Yeah, the interesting portion is we have a lot of these people in our company,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really amazing to see. But when you're asked to do something, and uh, most people will be asked at some point in their career to do something that's entirely not either within your comfort zone or not, or something that you're not skilled in, or you never trained for, or you never studied.
Right.
The people that I've seen really excel and the people that excite me when I'm interviewing people are the ones that can give me such great experiences of that. Like, wow, like I was sitting here, I was in this one organization, and all of a sudden I started doing this one thing. Didn't study for it, didn't know anything about it, just trained myself, learned it because I was passionate about it and because I wanted to help. And they don't take the job description as, this is my bucket of things I want to do.
Right.
They say, like, how can I help? How can I help? Where can I add value? Put me to work. And no matter if it's, them helping out with small tasks or big things when they need to do big things, those types of people help the organizational culture just, I think, grow. And we definitely look for people like that. And as a startup, it's so critical because you don't have the systems in place to say, you're this type of box, stay in that box. Like,
Right.
all you do is do this. No, like, you need to really be able to do everything. You need to be able to come in and say, hey, we need a little bit of help here. Can you do that? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I can't right now, but I'll figure it out by the end of the week. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we need people like that. And that's super important.
That yes mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can do, right? They say it's like the A team players on the bus. As long as you have a mission and you know where you're headed, just fill your bus with a lot of A players. And those A players are just like what you're saying there, Omar. They're just going to be can do. I trust myself to learn it. Let me see how I can help and throw me in coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
you have a big group of those people. It's amazing what you can do.
That's awesome. Um, Let me see if I want to hit everything that I've asked. I told our listeners we were going to hit today. We did want to talk about project management skills and why they're so important. I know that on the Omar project, you teach people about project management skills and why they're important. That's who you were and what you've been. That's the primary use of your industry and how your career and how you grew. And project management is something that facilitates itself through all different roles. Could you touch on project management, the skill sets, and why we must be mindful toward those?
Mm-hmm. I think project management is such a fundamental skill set that every leader needs to understand very well. Every executive needs to be an expert at, and you cannot have a successful organization without having true, disciplined project management. And the reason I think it's so important is because of three things. One is because it is management. There's a reason it's called project management. It's because you are managing people. You may not be their direct supervisor at all points in your career, but you're managing people to do tasks that you may not have direct supervisory for. That is a big role in training people how to get things done and execute and get done on deliverables. The second is the discipline it takes to actually say, I'm going to do this for this much money and I'm going to get it done on this date. And then it becomes, how do you do that? Because it's not always easy. A lot of times you're going to have challenges come through. There'll be things that just don't go the right way. But how do you actually do it and commit to something and stay committed and have an organization that always hits and does what they say they're going to do? That is extremely difficult to get those parts right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third part for me is you're doing something within the organization that's really truly one of the things where you're taking the capital and you're allowing them to make more revenue. You're growing the company. So wherever we put that money into, that's where the company is going to grow. That's where we're going to, maybe that's the next building or the next infrastructure we put together. Maybe that's how we build the next factory. So all those things are so critical to the company's success. So that's why it's an exciting field. One of the things I love most about it is the leadership part of it, because when I started, somebody was like, well, project management's kind of like you're a mini manager. And this was when I started like 12, 15 years ago. And it's true. And you learn those skill sets. So if you're interested in leadership, if you're interested in becoming an executive, this is a track you want to take at some point in your career, because it will have the rewards later. Like, you will see all those rewards when you're talking about budgets and you're talking about, okay, why didn't this execute? Why did we fail on $1 billion project?
Mm-hmm.
Can you answer those questions? You have to have a little bit of experience to understand some of that.
And how to communicate that at
Yep.
an executive level so they understand the ROI or the risk to that ROI. And what I love about project management as well is that oftentimes we think of it as tasks, lining out a project, making sure things are being done on time, how to communicate those, how to negotiate, the space in between tasks and the linearness to those things, the dependencies, right? But in so many ways, it's a human project management. You're managing the humans that are getting the task done, and we're not just robots. We're not just something that can be programmed and then you execute and then there's that task done. We have personalities and we have ups and downs and we have different energy and we have different influences on our lives. And so as a project manager, can you speak to that, the human aspect and the soft skills that are also developed through that acumen?
Yeah, it's such a people field,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all, hey, can you do this? Hey, how do we execute this? How do we move faster? And from the outside, it does seem like, hey, we're just getting things done. But you're exactly right. It's all being done through people. It's all people working together, sometimes having conflicts within teams. Sometimes it's resource constraints. Sometimes um, it's monetary issues with contractors you're dealing with. You're seeing every aspect of business, from the contractual side to the people side to the leadership side to sometimes having to changing your teams out because you don't have good performers. You
Mm-hmm.
see everything in this one field, and that's why I get excited about it, because I'm like, hey, this field is awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, when I was getting to see some of the bigger projects, it was in itself, those things were no different from leading a department. They were just a project department because you have so many people on these mega projects. And that was exciting because it's like even the things, simple things like recognitions that they would have. How do you recognize a team so they continue to move forward and then not really slow down? Like, it's simple, but it's really not. There's so much thought and so much work that goes in behind having these things work. And the people side of it is, I think, where a lot of it goes into.
Yeah. And so that's why I love that you mentioned this, because it is priming the executive. Because if you start out in project management, you're seeing all aspects of the business, all aspects of the people, all personalities, all different dynamics to get to that end goal and win the game, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
I love it. I could talk to you all day long, not only as a friend, because I love everything about you. You're such a beautiful soul. But thank you for sharing your wisdom today on Light Your Life, and congratulations on your leap out of ONG and into renewables and working for Advano. And I can't wait to see how far you're advancing so fast, and in a time where batteries are required even more so, and the patents that you guys are holding, and where it's going to help revolutionize batteries for the marketplace. It's just wonderful to see that you're there and you're part of growing that team.
Well, thank you, Tina. I always love chatting with you. I love the energy that you have, and I always pick up a little bit of it when I talk to you. So
Right.
I'm always happy to talk to you, and yeah,
We have fun. I love it. And so, if you want to stay in touch with Omar, which I know you do, you can stalk him just like I do at the omarproject.com. You can find him on LinkedIn, Omar Morales, and you can connect with him there. And then also, you publish a blog and you publish the podcast, and so they can listen to you and read your insights and the featured guests that you have on your podcast to learn about project management and getting on that executive track through project management, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the website, theomarproject.com, definitely check that out for everything around project management, not just the nuts and bolts of it, but also the leadership aspect. And we've had some great people on there, people from Tesla, from Shell, from Walmart, director levels. And really, it's something to check out.
It's awesome. I'm so proud of you. And thank you for contributing in this way. And I know it takes time and work and effort and juggling, and it's not easy. People think, hey, you got a podcast. That's fun. Well, it's work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And it takes consistency, right?
Yes, that is 100% very true. Yeah.
So these things are, yes, they're from your soul and your heart, and they're, labors of love and dedication. So thank you for being dedicated. And so until next time on Light Your Life, I'm Tina Marie St.Cyr. Thank you for listening, and do share these lights with your world so that other people can gain the wisdom, especially from our guest today, Omar Morales. Thank you so much for being our guest.
All right. Thank you, Tina.